Hi guys, I am going to film myself filling out the answer keys. So this is for practice quiz number 8. So that if you aren't really sure how to do some of these, you can watch this and maybe it'll help. I'm trying to get rid of the shadows here in the video. That's better. All right, the first set of problems are PEMDAS problems, and there's some absolute values in there too. So you really have to keep an eye on this sequence as you're simplifying these. So the first one, I have to divide before I can subtract. So 6 minus 1 is 5. Be careful on B because the temptation is to figure out the 10 minus 5 first, but you can't because you've got to do the parenthesis section first. So I'm going to rewrite. And then next thing I have to do is the multiplication. So 10 minus 30. And I'm going to keep change. Now I can do the addition or subtraction last. So 10 plus negative 30 is negative 20. Okay. Now, the P in PEMDAS represents not just parentheses, but any grouping symbol. And the absolute value is a grouping symbol. So I'm going to simplify these two pieces first. Minus 7 minus, right, the absolute value of negative 7 is positive 7 because the absolute value makes everything come out positive. And this sign was just written down, was carried down. Now I'm going to keep change, so I get negative 14. D, figuring out the absolute value first, this simplifies to 10 plus 4. Don't make a positive in the absolute value come out negative. It still comes out as a positive. 14. Okay, now this is not an absolute value, it's just a bracket. The opposite of negative 11 is positive 11 plus 3 is 14. Okay, and then I'm doing the parenthesis first, I want to keep change. Rewriting the negative on the outside. So you get a negative 2 on the inside, and the opposite of negative 2 is 2. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and, in the numerator, do the multiplication first. 7 plus 9 over 3 minus 1 is 2. And then the top goes to 16 over 2, which equals 8. Okay, on H, doing the top part, the parenthesis is 6. And on the bottom, you have to do the 3 times 4 before the 15 minus 3. So the denominator is 15 minus 12. That gives me 12 divided by 3, which equals 4. And then I has no grouping symbol at all. So there's no P in PEMDAS, there's no E for exponent. The next thing would be to find the multiplication or division. That means this is the first thing I have to do. 9 minus 4. Probably good to keep change first as well here. You could do that after. Here, 9 plus negative 4 plus 7 times 5 is 35 plus negative 3. Because I did a keep change, everything's addition. And so when it's all one operation, you can add in any order. So I think I'll just go left to right. That was my dog. Thank you, Jessie. Oh my God, that was lovely. 5 plus 35 plus negative 3. So 40 plus negative 3 equals 37. Okay, 2. Now, when you see evaluate, that means you want to plug in some of these values. So the x is 3, The z is 5. And then just, you gotta be careful that you plug the right number into the right spot. That's the biggest thing. 27 plus 5 over 4 is 32 over 4, which equals 8. So you want to simplify all the way so you can't simplify any farther. B, plugging in a 6 for A, a 7 for B, and a 3 for C. Now I'm following PEMDAS, so this equals 6 times 4, which equals 24. All right, translating. So you really have to understand what these words mean, right? What the code is. 7, and also go left to right as you're working it. So 7 more than is addition, plus a number, doesn't matter what variable, is equals 10. 6 times a number, 6 times a number. I'm not going to use a X for the times sign because it's just doesn't work that well in algebra because it gets confused. Is equals 21. The difference between 7 and P, that means subtraction. Keep the order. 7 minus P is equals 13. Quotient means divide, and I have to keep the order. The quotient of x and 3, x divided by 3 is equals 9. Now if you put x divided by 3 equals 9, that's fine. There's other ways to write it, but that's probably the preferable way in algebra. Okay. The sum of 10 and a number, sum means addition. The sum of 10 and a number is 50. Now watch out for the less than. If you remember, that's the one that I guess the temptation is to do 5 minus n, but less than means you're taking 5 away. So when I see less than, I'm going to do this. Minus 5. I'm taking 5 away from a number equals 12. Okay, the product of 4 and x. 4x equals 20. And then D, 3 times the sum of 8 and m. 3 times the sum of 8 and m. The sum, the whole sum has to be multiplied by 3, is 52. All right, on the back side. Now these you don't have to solve. Slide down a little bit. What we need to do though is define the unknowns. Now we have Kevin has $10 more than Tony. Together they have $78. If you remember, we had 2 types of these problems. There's a total problem and there's a translate problem. So this one's the easier type. So Kevin's money, Tony money, these are my unknowns. I'm going to look for the smaller one. Since Kevin has 10 more than Tony, Tony is the smaller variable. So I'm going to make him, I'm going to set my variable letter to his. Now I'm going to take this and define Kevin in terms of t. Kevin has 10 more than Tony, so 10 plus t. Now, because it's a total problem, all I need to do is add their 2 amounts together and I equal the total. 10 plus t equals 78, which would be fine. Any order is fine. Or if I simplify, 10 plus 2t equals 78. There's my equation. You need these 2 parts on these problems. Number 5, Jane has twice as much money as Emily and combined they have 42. So this is another total problem. And my unknowns are Jane's money and Emily's money. See, since Jane has twice as much as Emily, Emily's the smaller value, so E is my variable. Jane has twice as much as Emily. That means 2 times. And in a total problem, you just add the 2 unknowns together, or however many unknowns there are, and it equals the total. So you could leave it like that, or if you simplified, 2 E's plus 1 more E is actually 3E, 42. Okay, number 6. William makes 9 more phone calls than Maria. The number of calls made by William is 3 times the number made by Maria. That means this is a translate problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up my unknowns as usual. So William's calls, Maria's calls, and then I've got, all right, William makes 9 more calls than Maria, so she's the smaller one. When you do a translate problem, the easiest way to do these is to take the first sentence, I always just use the first arbitrarily, and then use that to define the unknowns. So William makes 9 more than Maria. Now I'm finished with the first sentence. I'm going to translate the second sentence into an equation. And when you translate, go left to right. The number of calls made by William, well, that is 9 plus M, equals 3 times the number made by Maria, so 3M. That is my equation. And the last problem. Perimeter is the sum of all the sides. Now, if I filled out the rest of this picture, I would have this. So if I add all 4 sides together, if you were to list it all out, I could say W plus W plus W plus 7 plus W. Let's see, W plus W plus W plus 7 plus W plus 7. That's fine, but you could also simplify this, 1, 2, 3, 4, to be 4W plus 7 and 7 is 14. Area, however, is length times width. Now the length is W plus 7 and the width is W. So when you write this, you have to parenthesis the W plus 7 because you want to multiply the whole thing by W. And that is that equation.